Hey everybody, South with Everyman prepping here. And it's been a few days since my last video because basically I've been swamped. I don't know about you out there, but spring is always a very busy time. Not only do we have our regular obligations with our jobs so we can earn our fiat currency, so we can then go and buy hard assets, real things, prepping material, but you have your family commitments, and in the springtime, we are loaded with things to do outside. If you're a gardener or homesteader, you're out there, planting your seedlings or planting seeds, tilling the dirt, water systems, composting, weeding, you name it, spring calls for it. So I've been swamped with doing all that. But I have to react to what happened on Saturday. And that's basically what we have going on here. I'm sure most of you have heard it by now, but I wanted to give you my reaction to it because on Saturday, I was angry, mad. Heck, I was pissed off at what the House of Representatives did. I'm sure many of you were as well. And then I figured, well, I'll wait till Monday, see if I still felt the same way. And yes, I did. What you're looking at here is not a picture of the Ukrainian parliament celebrating the U.S. House of Representatives approving, $61 billion for them, almost $100 billion for Israel and Taiwan and them together. No, waving the flags. This isn't Ukraine. This is the United States House floor. Those are Democrats waving the Ukrainian flag and, as we'll see here, chanting for Ukraine. Here, let's listen in here really quick. This is unbelievable. It's kind of like there was a coup that was taken over maybe or something, right? In the United States of America, on the House floor, you have representatives of, supposed to be the people's representatives, waving another nation's flag, chanting another country's name on the floor of the U.S. House in the United States of America. That one is the most thing that angered me to begin with, is just that scene. How, on the ceiling here, you see the American eagle up here, the freedom, the symbol, and then you have the Ukrainian flags and cheering for the nation, cheering that they're giving away money. Now, in this $100 billion, was there money given away for veterans to secure the border maybe? Maybe for the homeless, maybe to fix the crumbling infrastructure like bridges and roads, put people to work. Was there any of that included for Americans? No. All for foreign nationals, all for foreign wars, foreign borders. Every dime of it is probably going to go and we'll just say washed. The money's going to go there to get washed a little bit and probably find its way back into some pockets of maybe some people waving a flag. Who knows? Just opinion. I have no facts on that, but that's a lot of money. And by the way, you can send Ukraine $1 trillion. It's not going to help. You can print money all day, and they're not going to beat Russia. They're not going to kick Russia out of where they're at. They're not going to stop their gains. They're not going to put them back to the original borders. It's just not going to happen. You can print, like I said, you can print dollars all you want, but you can't print ammunition. You can't print soldiers. I mean, right now, Ukraine is stealing men off the streets to get them to get into the service because they're running out of able-bodied people. So print all the money you want, but you're not going to print a victory. It's just not going to happen. The only way Ukraine wins this, kicks Russia out, is, well, you got to put NATO soldiers, American soldiers, the American Air Force, aircraft, UK, France. You have to put them in that country attacking Russia directly to have even a shot at kicking Russia out, and then we might go nuclear at that point. That's the only way that's happening. Now, as for Israel, why do they need $26 billion? I mean, they can take it on themselves. They're a nuclear nation. They have plenty of money. They can handle it. Why are we giving them more money? Is that so that money can go elsewhere? I don't know. The only part I can just justify in this is maybe the $8 billion into Taiwan, because China's the real problem. People are focused on Middle East and Ukraine, but China's the one that's going to kick the United States where, it's going to hurt, basically, put it that way. That's the only one I might not have a problem with, is the $8 billion to bolster the Indo-Pacific, the Taiwan, military over there, because that's where we're going to need it. We're going to talk more of that later. But let's get into some of the other reactions about this money going over. And what we have here is Dimitri Markov. He's our favorite Russian deputy chair of the Security Council over there, Putin's right-hand man. We've talked about him a lot. This is a translation of what he put out on his Telegram channel. And he says, no one doubted the American legislators would approve this quote-unquote help to a gang of something. If I say it, YouTube will take this video down. It was a vote of joyful U.S. I don't can say that word either. You can read it yourself. It says here, they voted for the continuation of the civil war of the divided people. Like I said, they consider most of Ukraine, a lot of Russians there, they consider basically their territory. That's a civil war. They're not taking over another nation. They're getting back what is theirs. That's the Russian point of view. Not my point of view, Russian point of view. And they're going for the maximizing the number of victims of this war. Yeah, they're gonna fund to the last Ukrainian soldier, basically. To the last Ukrainian dies, they're gonna fund this war. And he says, we of course will win, despite the 61 billion bloody dollars that'll mainly go down the throat of the insatiable military-industrial complex. I ask you, is he wrong by saying that? I don't know. Let me know down below what you think. Also, at this time, hit that like button, share, comment. Whenever you talk about these type of subjects on YouTube, the algorithm doesn't like it. So if you could help out by hitting that like button and sharing, that'd be great. So this video can get out to as many people as possible. I really appreciate it. Going on with Dimitri, though. He says, taking into account the Russophobic decision that took place, I cannot with all sincerity help but wish the United States to plunge into a new civil war as quickly as possible, which I hope will be radically different than one in the 19th century. It will be waged with aircraft, tanks, artillery, MLRS, all types of missiles and other weapons, and which will finally lead to the inglorious collapse of the vile empire of the 21st century, the United States of America. So you can see how he feels. He's hoping for a civil war there. A lot of people think there's going to be a civil war here. If you've seen the Civil War movie, you should check it out. It has nothing to do with why it started, but it's a very interesting movie. You can watch my review of that as well. I did that video. My previous one's about 5 days ago. I'll put a link in the description if you want to read that. But basically, Dimitri Medvedev is hoping for the demise of the United States of America. Now, along with these bills they passed, they also passed a law or bill, whatever you want to call it. Now, all this has to go to the Senate for approval before the president can sign it. So the Senate, could they not approve all this money? They could. The Dems control the Senate, so they probably will. The only chance is if they filibuster it, which I don't think the Republicans are going to do that because you had over 100 Republicans voting for this in the House. So it's almost a done deal, basically. But another bill they passed was that said the U.S. could take the sanctioned assets of Russia and give them to Ukraine. Money, sanctioned money that's in U.S. banks, the foreign currency that Russia is basically Russia's money. It's just in U.S. banks. They could take that and give that to Ukraine, basically steal it. Now, what this is going to do, this is going to kill, the reserve currency status of the United States dollar is already crumbling. This is going to decimate it. If you as a country know the United States can just steal your money, take it out of your bank, like if you put your money in your bank and it'd be like the government just came in and took it and said, oh, we're going to take your money because we don't like how you handled your business. We don't like what you said on X or on Facebook or on YouTube. We're taking your savings account. We're taking your checking account and we're going to give it to XYZ organization. That's basically what they're doing. So if you knew that, would you put any money in that bank? Well, other countries aren't going to store U.S. dollars in banks. They're going to get rid of U.S. dollars. And when they start getting rid of U.S. dollars, that reserve currency is going to crash. They won't be buying treasuries and all that. That says what that's going to lead. It's going to lead to that. So that's the other part that's kind of flying under the radar right now is that, is this confiscation of Russian assets. And Russia says they will retaliate. They will seek revenge upon that. If the United States does that, what can they do? They'll probably dump all the treasuries. They'll get China to dump theirs, other countries to dump their treasuries. When that happens, the yield's gonna spike, financial markets will collapse, reserve currency is gonna collapse, all that. How else could they, they could respond militarily. They could respond, by doing hacking, whether it be grid hacking, financial hacking, I don't know, but they have already said they're gonna come out and respond to that if the United States takes their money. And then you have Lavrov here, Sergey Lavro. Wow, pronounce that. Come on, mouth. He says the West is teetering on the brink of a direct clash between nuclear powers. Now, this is after the bills were passed, especially the one about confiscating Russian assets. So let's listen in really quick on what he says, through a translator, of course.
The United States and its NATO satellites are still obsessed with the idea of inflicting a strategic defeat on Russia and are ready to continue to fight against our country until the last Ukrainian. At the same time, the Westerners are dangerously teetering on the brink of a direct military clash between nuclear powers.
All right, so you heard out of his mouth. He's basically saying, hey, if you continue on this path, we're on a direct clash between us. If you're giving all this $61 billion over to Ukraine, and then you start seeing French and other troops showing up, you start seeing, other weapons showing up, then you start taking our assets, we're going to be on a clash for nuclear war. So that's coming out of Lavrov himself. And moving on from that, we have this. That's what I was talking about. The Repo Act. How you like the name of that? So he's authorized the Biden to confiscate Russian assets to transfer to Ukraine. Let's see if this has more detail than what I told you already. They can confiscate billions in Russian sovereign assets, which sit in U.S. banks. Europe has about $300 billion in assets. They've already approved to do that. They haven't done it yet, but they've approved a same similar law. Maybe they'll wait till the United States does it before they do it. And it says here the president may confiscate such assets subject to U.S. jurisdiction. And this is who they can give it to. And let's check this out. The Ukraine Support Fund shall be used by the Department of State to compensate Ukraine for damages caused by the Russian invasion, reconstruction, rebuilding of efforts in Ukraine, humanitarian assistance to the Ukrainian people, or for other purposes which support the recovery of Ukraine and the welfare of the Ukrainian people. That basically means a blank check for whatever they want. You can spend the money on. Take the money from Russia and spend it on whatever you want. Like I said, I think you're going to find a lot of that money for all three of those areas are going to go for contracts for U.S.-based companies that are there to help those, whether they're helping Ukraine or Israel or Taiwan. You can have a lot of U.S. companies lined up for all this money, and that money comes back here and it goes to different places, different political organizations, different donations, and other stuff. I think that's what you're going to see. And before we get on to this is some new current news reports. So I'm going to go back to this picture while we're staring at that. So what, I said when I was angry and mad, this is basically crossing the Rubicon. If you ever thought that the U.S. had sovereignty, these representatives were for you, this basically should prove to you that it doesn't exist anymore. They're not there looking out for people. The American people didn't want this money spent over there, but they did it anyway. They didn't give money to support the protection and safety of American citizens, Americans in need. So if you thought there was a difference between left and right, you should think about that. Also, I'm not sure come November, I'm pretty sure of this. A lot of people disagree with this, but I don't think the United States is voting their way out of this. Some people think that Trump's going to be the savior, and this November fixes everything if he gets elected, even if he makes it to the election, or if we have the election, or anything like that happens. But personally, I don't think you're not voting your way out of this. It's too far gone. Something else is going to have to happen. What that is, we shall see. Love to hear from you guys down below what you think, but this is basically, I wouldn't say the last straw, because I knew it was tending to go that way, but this is like the ice on the cake of what our country is now, and how it is no longer the way it was envisioned by the founding fathers. It's a shell of its former self, and it's basically, that's about all I want to say right now before we get any further in trouble with YouTube land. So let's continue on with some of this new stuff that I have. This here is in the Kharkov region. TV tower blown up. You can see right there, they just blew a TV tower up. So Russia's still advancing. They're charging full speed ahead, and they're not slowing down. Like I said, any amount of money is not going to stop it. Any amount of money that you give them is not going to stop that Russian advance. They need to settle for peace. Ukraine needs to think about how they're going to get out of this without destroying their entire male population and female now that are sending them. That's just the state it's at right now. And then, of course, you have this. Senator Mark Warner confirms that ATAC and long-range missiles will be delivered to Ukraine by the end of next week. Of course they will. Get the bill approved. Excuse me. Got the bill approved. Got money. We're going to send them these ATACMs because they want to take out the Kerch Bridge, the Crimean Bridge. And that's what these will be used for. And if they do end up taking that out, look out. Look for, in a week or two, a huge attack on there because we're going to send these weapons in that direction. Then we have this. I haven't been able to confirm this or not, but, we'll take it for what it says here. It says, there's reports of U.S. troops from the 101st Airborne and French troops that are now openly operating in Odessa. They crossed over from Romania. We knew the 101st was in Romania, but if they're in Odessa now as the 101st Airborne, well, how close are they till these missiles, these drones that go into Odessa start killing French and American troops? And maybe that's what they're looking for, that trigger. Say, Americans died over there. Because just today, the administration put out 60 more advisors are going into Ukraine. They're not soldiers, they're not troops, they're not combatants, they're quote-unquote advisors. But they're basically troops. And they say 60, so there's probably more. And I don't know if that's what they're considering these 101st Airborne or not. But as it says here, Russian forces are aware of the situation, and they will most likely eliminate the threat. we'll see if they really go after them or not. But you start seeing American, French, other NATO country casualties within Ukraine, then basically you might as well assume that we're basically at war with Russia directly and everything that comes with that. Going on over, switching over to Iran and Israel. A member of the Iranian Parliament National Security Committee says, there's his name, I'm not going to try to pronounce it, stated today that Iran is now able to conduct a nuclear test with only a week's notice. Like I've been telling you, they have a nuke. In my opinion, they have one. They're just slow walking all this release of news. First it was, we have the info, we can do it in, a few months. Now it's, we can test in a week. They got to slow walk it out there. They're just not going to come out and say we have a nuke. They're going to slow walk this. Then eventually they're going to say, okay, we have one. We're good now. By the way, once they announce that they have one, it's open to the world. Israel is going to want to go in there and eliminate it. They're going to want to go flatten it. We've already heard that they have an EMP microwave device. There was a story out by, I can't remember the guy, Pepe, whatever. He came out this weekend and said, Israel was going to fly an EMP on an F-35 over the Iranian nuclear site, but Russia shot it down, and then everybody just kind of forgot about it. I don't know how much of that is true or not, but Iran comes out, they do a nuclear test, or they come out with an actual nuke. Israel is going to want to go there and eliminate that. And they're going to drag America along with them. What else do we have? China. Circled here, as you can see, a drone. It's a supersonic drone that is surveillance that China has developed. It gets launched from underneath a giant jet. This is what it looks like on a flatbed. So, China's increasing their capabilities, of course, because I said this is the real threat. You may think it's Iran, you might think it's Russia, but it's the hidden dragon, the silent dragon. It's China. That's what you have to worry for. And lastly, I know I've gone on for a while about all this, but we have silver today. Silver is getting smacked hard. Look at that decrease. Silver's down over 5%, almost $1.50. It's getting smacked hard. And you got gold here also down to almost 3%, $65. They're taking it hard. Is this profit taking? We'll have to wait for a day or two and see if it rebounds or not. The dollar's still high. Oil's still pretty flat level, so it's just the precious metals getting hammered today. So we'll see where that goes after that. But I'd love to hear your guys' opinion down below about this money, this $100 billion getting sent over. What do you think about it? What do you think about, can you vote your way out of this? Is the United States done as a legitimate world power now as a country? Are we just waiting to have so much debt and the reserve currency to die that it goes to hyperinflation and we start over? Love to hear what you guys think, because we're trending to look like that's the path we're heading on if we don't get to World War III first. So we shall see. But hopefully, like I said, you had a great weekend of prepping, garden work. Continue on with that. And until next time, keep your ear to the ground and head on a swivel.